Howdy, Dr. Will Wong here, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Essentials of Life and Wellness. Before we get too far into the show, let me tell you that I've just done a live interview with Justin Stellman of Extreme Health Radio, and that interview can be found on YouTube at Extreme Health Radio. We went on for the better part of an hour and change, and it was a really nifty show, lots of great information, and I expounded on stuff as usual, and I think you'll find it all very interesting. Okay, let's get on to the first question, and the first question reads, Hi, Dr. Wong. Hope you and your family had a good summer season. My question is, I would like to ask you about male pattern baldness. I'm 24 years of age and have been progressively thinning at the temples, sides, and crown of my scalp. I have heard you and a few others say that excess estrogen is to blame, and a good supplement to take is stinging nettle root against the estrogen and the baldness. I've heard other people say that it is only a weak aromatase inhibitor. Is that true? That it may actually raise DHT levels by breaking SHBG. I would like to hear your thoughts on whether it is being helpful or not in combating estrogen and or baldness. And finally, are there any natural supplements that you know of that work well for combating male pattern baldness that you would recommend? It would really be a big help, as I feel that the balding is not helping my confidence. Topically, I hear doctors' hair formulas work very well, but do you recommend any other topicals as well? Thank you so much. And my answer is howdy. Since there are varying potencies of herbs, and most of the industry uses the inexpensive low-grade, food-grade ones to increase their profit margins, I can't speak to anyone stinging nettle supplements. The misconception amongst customers using nutritional products and or commenting on them on blogs is that they mistakenly believe that one company's version of X is equal to another company's version of X. Actually, nothing could be further from the truth. As Consumer Reports showed some years back, most supplements on store shelves don't have any of what they claim to have in them, or have them in the amount specified on the label, which is an FDA offense, but the FDA doesn't care because the more supplements don't work, the better it is for the drug companies. But to actually answer your question, a pharmaceutical grade stinging nettles extract, which is not cheap, does work. Folks using Arsenest, for example, report that on blood tests, their estrogen readings went from high 3-digit numbers to low 2-digit numbers, and some don't have any measurable estrogen at all. The same goes for the DHT numbers. Now, it has to be said that the secret to supplements actually working, whether they be herb, vitamin, mineral, enzyme, etc., is that they have to be pharmaceutical grade, and with the herbs, they have to be strong, say a 10 or 20 to 1 or better extract, or else you'll need to take them by the tablespoon to get enough stuff to spark a physiologic action. Basic rule of thumb, if it's cheap, suspect there's nothing but filler in the capsule. If it's not pharmaceutical grade, suspect it's not going to work. If an herb is not a strong extract, it will only work when taken by the tablespoonful several times a day. Be well and God bless, Dr. Wong. So if you don't want to take several tablespoons of any herb several times a day, find a 10 to 1, 20 to 1, or better extract and take the extract 2 to 3 times a day. That makes life really simple, makes it really easy. When we did that with our maca, I went from eating 3 to 6 tablespoons of raw maca a day, which I didn't mind when I started off, but after a decade of it, I really got sick of it. We've got a 20 to 1 extract of our maca in the Andy and Essence Max supplement, and I take 3 capsules twice a day, and that's it. Each capsule is equal in active ingredients to 1 full tablespoon worth of the powdered raw maca. And on to the next question. Now, instead of reading this gal's letter, I'm going to cut it short and just kind of fill you in on the details. This gal who wrote in has a 7-year-old daughter with precocious puberty. In other words, she's getting ready, she's growing breasts, she's growing hips, and she's going to start menstruating, but she's only 7 years old. Now, when menstruation happens, very, very young, gals don't grow. The second that menstruation starts, the extremities stop growing. The arms stop growing, the legs stop growing, the spine keeps on growing. So you get a rather odd-looking shape in that your spine is the same length as your brother's, but you're nowhere near as tall because your legs didn't get to grow. Always remember that at the onset of menstruation, the legs and arms stop growing. Okay, next. The mom has the daughter on a vegan diet. The daughter was using Lupron to act as a brake drug to stop her from hitting menstruation, stop her from hitting puberty. And Lupron makes sense. But then the daughter had a bad reaction to the Lupron, and they put her on another medication, triptorelin, which basically just stops the production of testosterone and progesterone, the two hormones that are dependent on luteinizing hormone to be made, but doesn't stop the production of estrogen, which is the primary culprit in precocious puberty. Now, lastly, the gal is telling me how she tries to get all of the xenoestrogens out of her daughter's life, all of the estrogens from plastics, from Tupperware, soap, shampoos, etc., and how difficult that is. And she thanks me ahead of time for any advice I may have to give her. And here's my answer. Howdy. You're not going to like my suggestions and assertions, but here goes. There is nothing in natural medicine that can replace the Lupron or the triptorelin, although it seems that the triptorelin is more aimed at suppressing testosterone, which in turn will produce high estrogen, which is the hormone that you don't want her to have. And the bone softening you read about happening from the triptorelin is from the lack of testosterone, which is bone forming. Estrogen's role in bone density is highly overblown. The male prostate cancer patients you read about using triptorelin get osteoporosis, and they're on the drug and a ton of estrogen, because that's a usual part of therapy for primary prostate cancer patients. The testosterone and progesterone are infinitely better bone builders than the estrogen. So if bone building determines height and her drug is suppressing the making of testosterone, where does that leave her? Next. Eating vegan is nuts for your daughter, as all the vegetable protein sources are estrogenic and will fuel the fire of precocious puberty. She's getting more estrogen from the vegetable protein sources than she ever would from the plastics, pesticides, shampoos, soaps, etc. Remember the rule that if it's a pea, if it's a pod, if it's a seed, or if it's a bean, it is a mini uterus and is estrogenic. The hormones that are supposedly in milk and meat are actually destroyed by pasteurization and cooking. The temperature range for mammalian hormones is that they denature between 105 and 135 degrees. Pasteurization happens at 212 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes or 400 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 seconds. The low cooking setting on the stove is higher than 200 degrees. The vegan quasi-religious pseudoscience never mentions that. In the interest of spreading the religion of vegetarianism, they don't want people to know because they want to scare people away from meat and milk. So, for your daughter's growth, she's much better off with a meat, egg, and milk diet in attaining the height than with a vegetarian diet. Hindu vegetarians in India eat a ton of eggs and milk. Remember that in physical anthropology, we knew that Paleolithic man, who had a diet of 60 to 70% meat, raw greens, fresh fruit, and whatever eggs they might find, were an average of 5 foot 8 inches tall. When man became agrarian, a farmer, and ate mostly grains and veggies, physical anthro tells us man lost 8 inches in height. Further, physical anthropology tells us that all the tribes in northern Europe that survived were milk drinkers, and they survived because they were milk drinkers when other tribes that weren't milk drinkers died off. That was confirmed by a recent study from the Karolinska Institute. Lastly, all the docs I know who were former meat eaters, who raised their kids as vegetarian, noticed that their vegetarian kids grew to be nowhere near as tall as they were, and most of the kids were at least a head height shorter than they were. This caused a great deal of grief and guilt in those docs. Hitler was a lifelong strict vegan. How did he compare in height to the rest of the Germans of his day? Remember that estrogen is a hormone of anger, high emotions, and mood swings. So if her testosterone and progesterone, the hormones that are dependent on luteinizing hormone production, which the triptorelin suppresses, and remembering that progesterone is supposed to balance estrogen, if those hormones are being suppressed but her estrogen is not, what's the sense of having her on the drug if it's not suppressing the primary hormone responsible for the onset of menstruation, which is estrogen? Here's a list of estrogen-containing foods, and I sent her to the drwong.us site for the phytoestrogen food sources article. Sorry I don't have much in the way of answers, but I hope I've given you food for thought. Be well and God bless. Dr. Wong. And the next email reads, Dr. Wong, just a quick note to say that I'm really enjoying you back with regular shows. I've listened to your shows and lectures. I know that my questions and others that I hear must be very draining for you. You have so much amazing free information and have helped so many people out there. You are very much appreciated, Doc. And my answer is, howdy, sir. Thank you much for the thanks, and you are very welcome. Answering questions and speaking on those answers in shows isn't really all that draining, nowhere near as draining as actually seeing people and being in physical contact with patients. By the time I stopped seeing folks in October of 2001, that drain had become a killer. I thank you for your concern, and I thank you for asking questions and for listening. Be well and God bless. Dr. Wong. You know, considering that mostly all I get are questions, and sometimes I don't even get a thank you back for the questions, that was a great email to have, and again, I thank you, sir, for sending it. And the next question reads, Dear Dr. Wong, I have just opened a bottle of enzyme essence and I took one pill. An hour and a half later, I had lunch. And since then, I've been throwing up and dry heaving since then. Why? I don't know if I can do this again. And my answer is, howdy. Could be one of three reasons. Bet you don't make any hydrochloric acid. 40% of folks over 40 don't. And according to Mucos Pharma, 2% of those folks who don't will get an upset stomach from taking a systemic enzyme. My suggestion is that you try taking the Zymessence with food. An empty stomach is not as necessary with the Zymessence as it was with the older, weaker blends of systemic enzymes in the past. The older blends feared that a substantial portion of the enzymatic activity would be lost to digestion if taken near food. And so not enough of the enzymes would be available for systemic activity. But since it only takes 1/12 to 1/16 of the enzymatic action in one zymessence to digest a Thanksgiving or Christmas feast, that is not the case with zymessence. You couldn't eat enough food to waylay all the enzymes in zymessence. So taking the enzymes near food will not result in a sufficient loss of enzymes to impair the body-wide action of the enzymes. Second possibility, also in some 2% of the folks, they get a near immediate liver detox dump. In other words, the lipase from the enzymes lyses. It eats away at the fat cells of the liver that are holding bits and pieces of every toxin, medication, chemical, recreational drug, etc. you've ever been exposed to from birth. If the bowels are not flowing well enough and fast enough to allow the near immediate release of those toxins, they get reabsorbed and they cause everything from nausea to headaches. So in that instance, make sure that you're taking 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of magnesium daily, enough magnesium to have the bowels flow freely, but not enough to get to the point of having the runs. Third possibility, you've got a really bad case of thrush or candida, a yeast infection, in the upper GI tract and the intestines, and the enzymes caused a sudden die-off of the yeast that they came in contact with. When yeast buds die, they blow up, they burst, releasing alcohol, methane, and propane gas. In that instance, again, to slow down the action of the enzymes, try patting them by taking them with food. Be well and God bless. Dr. Wong, and I heard back from this gal. And she said that the suggestion of taking the zymesins with food worked marvelously. She had no upset stomach, nothing bad happened, and now she's taking full doses of the enzymes. Now, next we heard from a gal who was put on an oral EDTA, which is a chelating agent, by her doc as part of a detox program, but she noticed that she had pain in her jaw and that the bone line in her jaw had receded. She also noticed that the size of her skull seems to have shrunk. Now, this gal's a model, so she's very aware of what her face looks like, because that's her part of her business, and she has to be aware of what her face and skull look like. And my answer is, how weird. While I've seen skulls grow in folks using cortisone therapy, I've not heard of skulls receding. I have heard of that happening to the jaw, though. Now, EDTA does bind onto and remove calcium. That's how it cleans out arterial plaque. But if it took calcium away from skulls, that would be exceedingly bad and have negative implications for the use of EDTA therapy in osteoporosis patients. If you can drink milk, it is the best source of organic calcium at 300 milligrams per glass. If you can't drink milk, goat's milk has no lactose, and no one on the planet is allergic to it. In the Central Caucasus and Eastern Europe, goat's milk is given to the weak, newborns, and the preemies, and the old and sick and weak to strengthen them. Having recommended goat's milk to folks for decades, I can attest to the fact that it works. Goat's milk is usually found in most any supermarket in the soy milk section under the Meyenberg brand name. It is a super digestible protein, has tons of calcium, and since a Meyenberg goat herd is free grazing and grass-fed, the milk tastes good. Get the calcium back in you as soon as you can, and you might be able to reverse the bone loss you've just had. Bone loss is also a sign of low or no progesterone and testosterone. While the MDs push estrogen for women for bone loss, the best the estrogen will do is a 2 to 3% increase if it works, which many times it does not. Simply using 2 to 3 glasses of milk a day and weight training will increase bone density by 11 to 15% in the first year. Add testosterone, and the increases are even more. I will warn you not to get EDTA therapy if you're on the testosterone implants. The pellets are made up of a mineral, and the EDTA dissolves the mineral very quickly. Someone I knew learned that the hard way. They were getting the implants. They also had some mercury fillings removed, and so they did EDTA therapy immediately afterwards to get the rest of the mercury and the gaseous mercury out. The fresh new implants she just had put in a week or so before disappeared in mere hours and released 3 months' worth of testosterone in one shot. Hope you get back to feeling better quickly. Be well and God bless. Dr. Wong. Then we had a question from someone asking me what I thought of the bioidentical hormones versus the animal source hormones. And here's my answer. Howdy. I tend to fall into the bioidentical, aka synthetic side of the hormone therapy issue. Animal hormones work fine, but they differ ever so slightly from the human hormones. They still work, but since hormones are a lock and key mechanism, the fit isn't exactly right. With bioidentical hormones, you have a perfect fit. But here's the rule that we're taught in pharmacology. There's a 1 in 12 chance that a person will have a different reaction, an untoward reaction, or no reaction at all to any given drug. So we need to test things out, test out all the alternatives to see which works best for us. Be well and God bless, Dr. Wong. Okay, let's talk about the synthetic part of the synthetic hormones. They're not synthetic at all. If you take a piece of cholesterol, cholesterol being a fat and not synthetic, and then you whittle it away with an enzyme, can't make enzymes synthetically. Enzymes are a natural thing, and you whittle that piece of cholesterol, that piece of saturated fat down until you make a structure that is exactly bioidentical to a hormone. Is that a synthetic process? Is it really a synthetic hormone? That's the way your body makes hormones, by taking saturated fat, the bad cholesterol that everyone's trying to keep you away from, that the MDs are trying to keep you away from anyway, and whittling it away with enzymes to make your hormones. That's how you make your hormones. So the bioidentical hormones are made by the same processes that the body uses to make your own hormones. What's artificial about that? Nothing. And the next question is about spinal injuries, and it reads, Dear Dr. Wong, I wanted to know if you were aware of any treatments that remove glial scars from the central nervous system, the same way that serrapeptase dissolves scars in other parts of the body. I have heard that chondroitinase, ABC, is available, but it is not a commercially available solution. It is by prescription only and very expensive. Any special enzyme compounds you can think of? Thanks for your reply in advance. And my answer is howdy. The systemic enzymes, enzyme messenger, should be able to lyse, eat away at the pro-inflammatory cytokines that promote both inflammation and fibrinogen formation, which causes and creates the fibrin of the scar tissue. It should be able to lyse the fibrin of the scar tissue itself. We know from the clinical experience of the enzymes being used against spinal stenosis and pituitary tumors that the enzymes do cross the brain-blood barrier and get into the central nervous system. If you'd like to try this essence, I suggest a dose of 2 to 3 capsules taken in between meals 3 times a day. If you choose to use the 9 capsules a day, also add 1 milligram of vitamin K to keep the blood from getting too thin. I would suggest that you maintain this dose for 6 to 12 months and then afterwards drop the dose to 1 or 2 capsules taken 3 times daily for maintenance. Maintenance is important, as a physiological rule is that scar tissue will want to regrow wherever it has already been. After the 9 per day dose is dropped, you can also drop the vitamin K. To help support the central nervous system tissue, I would suggest the following: MCT oil from Viva Labs or brain octane oil from Bulletproof. 1 tablespoon in coffee or food 2 times daily. B-complex vitamins, 1 capsule 2 times daily. Sublingual B-total, 1 eyedropper full 1 or 2 times daily. Methylfolate, 15 milligrams 2 times daily. These can be found at health food stores or online. I hope these ideas help. Be well and God bless. Dr. Wong. And the next question reads, Dear Dr. Wong, I'm a 57-year-old woman into weight training and have been using your products for 2 years now. I use Enzyme Essence, the Max Scorbate, the Anti-Essence. I use a progesterone cream, plus I use vitamin A and vitamin E. Since I am also postmenopausal, please suggest any other supplement that is required which can help me for the dryness in the vagina, which hinders intercourse. And my answer is howdy. By the end of this month, September, we should have the replacement for the arginine EE with trimethylglycine, which was our nitric oxide producing supplement. Nitric oxide is the blood gas that dilates blood vessels and increases circulation everywhere, but especially to the heart, the brain, and the genitalia. In women, nitric oxide greatly increases vaginal lubrication and clitoral engorgement. Take only 1 capsule, 2 to 3 times daily. You should be able to feel the difference in a week. We will announce the new product and its name on the same website page for the old arginine EE with TMG. Also, to help with the lowered dopamine and luteinizing hormone after menopause, which decrease desire, add our Enkindle at 2 capsules 2 times daily. Be well and God bless. Dr. Wong. Now, let me tell you, I've tested our new nitric oxide making supplement. It beats the pants off of our old arginine EE with trimethylglycine. So if you liked that one, try the new one. You will feel a flush within about an hour or so of taking it. I highly recommend that you don't take more than 1 at a time. These are super powerful supplements. Also, if you're on high blood pressure medication, please don't take this, as it might drastically lower your blood pressure. Vasodilating the way that this supplement will, it opens up all the blood vessels and should feed all the areas of the body, but again, especially the brain, the heart and the genitalia very richly with oxygen, oxygenated blood. For you older guys, if you can bind this with Viagra or Cialis, for the women taking the supplement, you will have better vaginal lubrication, better engorgement of both the clitoris and the G-spot. Remember, the G-spot isn't just some nebulous thing. The G-spot is a spot that connects to the clitoral nerve. The clitoral nerve runs from the clitoris into the anterior wall of the vagina, just about an inch above the pelvic bone on the inside of the body. Now, when the clitoris engorges, just like a penis becomes erect, the G-spot also engorges. Without the clitoris and the G-spot engorging, there is no pleasurable sensation that comes from them. It's almost like men not having an erection and trying to have sex and trying to feel the pleasure without having an erection. It doesn't happen. Just like the penis has to fill with blood in order to feel sensation, so does the clitoris and the G-spot have to fill with blood to feel sensation. So, taking a pro-nitric oxide supplement, especially, here you only take one capsule 2 to 3 times a day, instead of, with most of the nitric oxide supplements, you're taking teaspoons of stuff several times a day to get the same effect, or to get a worse effect, because honestly, I don't think anything on the planet works as strong as this. Try it out. And on that note, I wish you all God's blessings. Be well, and I'll chat with you again next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining Dr. Wong this evening for today's edition of the Essentials of Life and Wellness. If you have any questions about today's show, or if you would like to ask Dr. Wong any other health-related question, you may send an email to radio@drwong.us. That's radio@drwong.us. Or telephone him at 940-325-2147. The products mentioned in today's show, as well as all of the other products Dr. Wong recommends, can be purchased online at docsprefer.com. That's www.docsprefer.com. Or you can speak with a customer service representative at 940-325-2147. Dr. Wong also has an extensive natural health website filled with articles written in Dr. Wong's own unique and easy-to-understand style that discuss natural remedies for some of today's most common and debilitating chronic conditions. You can find these articles at drwong.us. That's www.drwong.us. Until next time, we hope you have a safe and healthy week. Be well, and God bless.